Hello again, everyone. Marcus here. I review stuff today. I'm reviewing the song The Eternal by Joy Division. As always, this song comes to you as a request from one of my viewers, so if you would like to get your song reviewed, just do what they did. Leave it in the comments, and I'll be sure to add it to my list. So at this point, I've heard a good number of songs from Joy Division. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with everything that I've heard. I'm just gonna start throwing out some names of songs. Level Tear Us Apart, Shadow Play, one of my favorites from them. Honestly, probably one of my favorite songs I've heard on the channel. New Dawn Fades. What else? Transmission, I want to say. Did I say that? I want to say that was one of them. I've heard a good number of songs from them at this point. Sometimes I have to be in the right headspace to listen to some of them, but others, like Shadow Play, I can listen to just all day, any day. But one of the great things about listening to Joy Division is I've really gotten to see, because again, not a band I had ever really listened to, but I can really hear like the influence that they've had on other bands. I named a funny aside, but I named Metallica as like one of those bands where I'm like, I can hear like Metallica riffs that were very much influenced by Joy Division, which is funny because like there was somebody in the comments who was like, Metallica, what are you talking about, Metallica, blah blah blah, like you're stupid. They're basically calling me stupid for like saying how Metallica was probably influenced at some point by Joy Division. I thought that was funny. Like, isn't that like, I thought that was like a compliment, right? Like, hey, a band that you like, Joy Division, influenced a band that I like, Metallica. And I don't know. Some people are wild. I don't put too much stock into my comment section when comments like that come across the dashboard. So anyway, let's jump into it. This is The Eternal, Joy Division. Here we go. I feel like I stepped outside. That's what it sounds like in summer here, for sure.
Procession moves on, the shouting is over. Praise to the glory of loved ones now gone. Talking aloud as they sit round their table, scattering flowers washed down by the rain. Stood by the gate at the foot of the garden, watching them pass like clouds in the sky. Tried to cry out in the heat of the moment, possessed by a fury that burns from inside. my time is so wastefully spent. Burden to keep, though they're inner communion. Accept like a curse an unlucky deal. Played by the gate at the foot of the garden. My view stretches out from the fence to the wall. No words could explain, no actions determine. Just watching the trees and the leaves as they fall.
Wow. Wow, that was heavy. And when I say heavy, and this is kind of like a general rule of the channel, like when I say heavy, it doesn't always mean like, fast paced thrash metal, heavy metal. It doesn't always mean, double bass and heavy, huge, loud electric guitars. Sometimes heavy just means like what we just listened to, right? A voice cutting through with dark lyricism, very minimalistic instrumentation. Like that was heavy. That was one of those songs it's almost hard to like. Again, you have to kind of put yourself in that right headspace to really enjoy it. Because man, it's a doozy. So hey, let's break it down piece by piece like we always do. Of course, starting with those lyrics about which I have a good amount of thoughts. So I do want to read the about section for the song itself. It says, arguably the bleakest thing the band ever recorded, The Eternal is a slow and atmospheric track built around a repetitive bass line and reverb-laden drums and piano. According to guitarist Bernard Summer, Ian Curtis wrote The Eternal about a child with Down's syndrome who lived near him. Oh, the child was not allowed to leave his house. Damn. When Ian moved back to Macclesfield when he was 22, he noticed how even though his life had changed, the child's life appeared to have remained the same. As Stephen Morris told GQ in July 2020, he used to go and see him at the labor exchange, but you'd also see him playing in the park, and he never seemed to age. He just always stayed the same. Interesting. Well, let's look at those lyrics and see. So, procession moves on. The shouting is over. Praise to the glory of loved ones now gone. Talking aloud as they sit round their tables, scattering flowers wash down the rain, stood by the gate at the foot of the garden, watching them pass like clouds in the sky, try to cry out in the heat of the moment, possessed by a fury that burns from inside. To me, that sounds like a funeral, right? A funeral procession. Procession moves on. The shouting is over. Praise to the glory of loved ones now gone. I mean, very clearly to me, like sounds like a funeral. Scattering flowers. This part, though, is interesting. Possessed by a fury that burns from inside, Cry like a child, though these years make me older. With children, my time is so wastefully spent, a burden to keep, though their inner communion, except like a curse and unlucky deal. Even though this part, again, maybe was about the child, he was writing about cry like a child, though these years make me older. To me, that's the artist himself kind of speaking out. We know that, at this point in the channel, we've discussed at length about how he, tragically took his own life. But to me, it's like, the about section talks about the child who never seems to age, right? They're stuck in this childlike state. They're never allowed to even leave the house in some cases. But I think here he sort of captures that idea that, like, we all have sort of that child still in us, despite how we might age. And so in this case, like, for him, it's that sort of maybe sadness that comes from maybe childhood trauma, right? But cry like a child, though these years make me older. Man, again, when we talk about heavy, that's a heavy line right there. Played by the gate at the foot of the garden, my view stretches out from the fence to the wall. No words could explain, no actions determine, just watching the trees and the leaves as they fall. Yeah, I mean, again, very heavy, very dark lyrically, but man, it's impactful. So they do a lot with a little bit of lyricism. I give it a thumb up for the lyricism there. As far as the instrumentation and vocals go, that his Ian Curtis's, I assume he's the one singing here. His voice sounds so just dark and moody, but like in a way that makes sense for the song, right? I'm not trying to like write it off, but I mean it really like plays well with the emotional level of the writing, So I think vocally he sounds great here. He really packs a punch. Again, with very little lyricism. The instrumentation, is again dark. It's heavy. It's very minimal with the bass, which I think the bass throughout was fantastic. Like, again, it was dark, it was heavy, but it brought just a nice sort of sound to it, and it really kind of drove everything home. The drumming of that was interesting. I'm guessing that's kind of what was making some of those sort of ambient sounds. But the piano also very dark, heavy sounding, just very forlorn sounding. It's just everything came together to make just such a dark, heavy song. But it still sounds pretty good. So for that, I'm gonna give it a thumb up for instrumentation and vocals. As far as replay value goes, this is one of those guys. I'll be honest, you got to be in the right headspace for it. It's dark, it's heavy, it's definitely not a happy song. Definitely not gonna put you in a good mood to listen to it, but I think there's room for it on my playlist. It's got to be that right time, that right day, the right mood to kind of listen to something like that. Those moods don't come very often, I'll be honest, but this is still a pretty good song. So for that, I'm going to give it a thumb up for replay value. Overall, a pretty good song, So thank you so much for your request. And hey, if you enjoyed the music, go listen to the artists wherever you can. Go support them however you can. And if you enjoyed what you saw here with me, consider supporting the channel by, liking and subscribing and commenting with your request. That's how we got this song, was through a request from a viewer. So definitely hit me up with those. And then, of course, you can check the description to follow me on Twitch, TikTok, or Instagram. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me. I hope you enjoyed the video and hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.